This fall, Pennsylvania is living up to its nickname as the Keystone State. Both the Harris and Trump presidential campaigns see its 19 electoral votes as key to getting to the 270 needed to win. In addition, Pennsylvania contest could determine control of Capitol Hill. So it's where we begin our check-ins on battleground states in the final 3 weekends of the race. Julia Taruso is national political reporter for the Philadelphia Inquirer. Julia, let's start by just telling me what's the state of the race now in Pennsylvania? How do things feel with a little about 2.5 weeks to go?
The state of the race is neck and neck in Pennsylvania. You see that in polling with a tied race here, anywhere between 1 and 4 points separating Trump and Harris. And then you also just feel it in terms of the amount of time both candidates are spending in this state. Both of them and their running mates were here in the past week, along with surrogates, just kind of blanketing the Commonwealth.
In those visits, are they focusing on different parts of the state, and sort of how does that fit in with the political geography of Pennsylvania?
Sure. So I think former President Trump's strategy had been to focus really on a lot of those Rust Belt, white working class parts of the state that really helped carry him to victory in 2016. Vice President Harris had been focusing on the suburbs, Philadelphia, but then also traveling to a lot of the areas where President Biden was able to do a little bit better than Hillary Clinton in 2020 and win. You know, those collar counties represent about 30% of the voting population in the state. And so I think you're seeing both Harris double down there and former President Trump trying to, lose by less in some of those Democratic suburban areas where there are just a lot of voters.
Well, we've got a little bit of sound from two Pennsylvania voters I'd like to play for you.
The MAGA movement has veered away from Republicans and become a totally extreme group. I've maintained my Republican stature, but I can't support a movement that just doesn't stand for human decency.
I was happy when he was president because we could live better. Taxes were lower, food was lower, gas was lower. I could afford to live better. He made me happy.
Julie, as you talk to voters around the state, what are they telling you is on their minds as they try to decide their vote?
I think those two voters you just illustrated are very representative of what I hear. The number one issue in Pennsylvania is the economy, but when you talk to voters about what's motivating their vote, supporters of former President Trump say the economy, they say immigration and the border. Supporters of Vice President Harris say really the threat of another Donald Trump presidency to them, their fears about what would happen to abortion rights and kind of other democratic freedoms is a lot of what I hear from, folks supporting Harris.
And of course, there's an important Senate race in Pennsylvania. Democratic Senator Bob Casey running for re-election against hedge fund businessman named David McCormick. Tell us about that race.
Senator Casey is a well-known senator in the state. And up until about August, he was leading in this race by about 8 percentage points. It was looking pretty good for him. But Dave McCormick has run a very strong campaign here. He's narrowed the gap to about 4 or 5 percentage points. I think you see Casey getting a little bit nervous. He recently came out with an ad in which he touts having bucked Biden on a fracking decision that the president made. And he touts siding with Trump on putting tariffs on China. So that shows you that a Democrat who is also a very close ally of Joe Biden sees the political advantage of indicating to potential split ticket voters that there's a home for him, with them.
And also with the battle for the control of the House, there are 3 House races in Pennsylvania that are considered toss-ups. Tell us about each one of those.
First, you have 2 Democrats who are hoping to hold on to their seats. There's Susan Wild facing Republican State Representative Ryan McKenzie. That's in the Lehigh Valley, which is a battleground part of Pennsylvania. Wild only won that seat by less than 2 percentage points in 2020. So I think it's a place where Republicans are really hoping they might be able to pick up a seat. It's an area where the Latino population is growing. It's one of the largest Latino populations in the state, but it's also a district that Biden did win by more than 4 percentage points in 2020. The second Democrat is Congressman Matt Cartwright, who represents the northeast portion of Pennsylvania. That's a district that actually Trump won in 2016 and in 2020. So he's managed to hold on in this plus Trump district for the last number of cycles, really by running very local races, kind of focusing on being a moderate. His challenger is a man named Rob Bresnahan, who has been a prolific fundraiser, and that's actually a race that where you see the most money spent in the state. And then finally, in the south central part of Pennsylvania, it's where Harrisburg is, York County, you have Republican Congressman Scott Perry. Perry has been a longtime Trump ally. He was investigated by the FBI for his role in trying to overturn the election results in Pennsylvania here. So I think there was a lot of thought among Democrats that he might be vulnerable the last time he ran. This time, a popular former news anchor, Janelle Stelzen, is running against him, and she has massively outraced him in that race. So she actually had a lead. It looks like it's narrowed. Definitely the three to watch in Pennsylvania.
Julia Taruso, the Philadelphia Inquirer, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.